Get that retweet out there. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran at Lofty_D on Twitter. That is LOUGHY_D, joined by Josh Engelman, as I am 4 times a week. It's a wonderful show, wonderful combination. Glad to have him with us as well at Josh Engelman on Twitter. What's going on, man? Pretty big Steph Curry game last night, huh?
As I told you on the stream yesterday, Steph Curry would go nuts, shoot the lights out, take 18 threes, make 10 of them, take 16 free throws, make 15 of them, have no other real statistics to speak of, including multiple turnovers, but still get there because the scoring was there. Had to happen.
Yep, certainly did. And it definitely isn't because we said Steph Curry at 10,100 on Draftkings was not a good option because of who was priced around him. I guess sometimes that just happens, right? I mean, he had one of his best, if not his best, shooting games of the season. It was a fun game to watch. He absolutely crushed it. But here we are talking about a guy in Steph Curry that, well, yesterday, look, this stuff happens, right, Josh?
Yeah.
It happened. Joel Embiid, I was telling you before the show, he's now had back-to-back games where he's gone out of the third quarter with 50-plus fantasy points and never comes back, thanks to guys like Furkan Korkmaz off the bench extending the blowout. So, yeah, Embiid could have easily finished with 70 in that one or 65, but it is what it is. Jokic didn't have a great game. They had another epic collapse in the fourth quarter, by the way, or late in the third quarter, epic collapse. And that's basketball.
Fingers crossed for Jamal Murray on that one, too. That did not look good. I have a sneaky suspicion we're not going to be seeing him play basketball for the rest of the year, but I would desperately want to be wrong. You and I talked about how the disparity between Embiid's ownership and Jokic's ownership made him look like a really nice GPP play. Eric and I doubled down on that one on Live Before Lock. I assume that Adam had the same stance on the deeper dive. I didn't hear it yesterday.
On who? I'm sorry.
On Embiid.
Yeah.
All of that was playing out to perfection.
Perfect,
and then it just didn't matter because Embiid was truly dirty yesterday in very limited time. 50 DK points in 26 minutes. He was 10 of 17 from the field, 7 boards, 2 assists, still got a steal. Like, he was just dominating that
14
game.
14 of 15 from the free throw line.
Yeah, he probably would have shot 20
every center
free
in
throws.
Foul trouble. Got every single center in foul trouble.
They sent a double. The last one, I think it was probably the last shot that he took. They sent a double. He just immediately, as the double got to him, spun baseline, jumper, wet. And that was just it. I don't think we saw him again.
Just ate it up every single time. But he didn't need to come back. What do you have, 36 points?
He had 36 points, correct.
In like 25 and a half minutes. So you get your fourth quarter rotation out of Embiid. But again, this isn't a complaining session, right? This is just a scenario where we could be saying the exact same thing about why Embiid at 10-1 was better than Curry at 10-3, but Curry had a great game. Like, you can't take that away from him. And I will account for this, right? A little CYA here, Josh. I mentioned during the show, Curry could go off. Like, there's no doubt he has it in him. It's just the frequency that he has those ceiling games is so much lower than the guys that he was priced around. So just taking an isolated event, one game, it's very hard to make sense of that. But great game from Curry.
He's 18 of 33 from 3 over the past 2 games and 19 of 20 from the free throw line.
Yeah, that'll do it. Donovan Mitchell, too. Another huge game. He attempted 32 shots, and he's back in action tonight.
He has 57 fantasy points in 3 out of his last 4. He had 50 in the fourth one in that group, but literally 57 and a quarter, 57 and a quarter in 3 out of 4.
It's crazy.
Craziness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's shooting like garbage, 7 of 23 from 3.
Right. And we could be getting him again today against the Thunder. The truth is, though, but let's wait till we get to that game because I have some thoughts on that. The Wizards did beat them in Utah last night, though, because Russell Westbrook had another monster triple-double. Bradley Beal went for 30 plus, and the rest of the team did absolutely nothing. It's remarkable.
Yeah, Russ took only 2 threes yesterday, missed them both. He is 1 for 10 in his last 10. But if they can limit the amount of shooting that he has to do, and I think when Beal is on the floor, you'll see Russell Westbrook's 3-point rate drop pretty dramatically. That is the only way that Russell Westbrook can succeed at this point, is to just not take any threes when they're afforded him, because he's an absolutely dreadful 3-point shooter.
It was a weird slate. Let's take a look at Fantasy Cruncher lineup study. Jordan has it pulled up for us already. Our wonderful producer, Jordan Klein. But first, happy to have you guys with us. Don't think I'd ever forget that. Hit that thumbs up button. Let's push us over 100 as quick as possible. I know we only got like 160 watching right now. So that number hopefully will rise throughout the day, but it helps us a ton here. If you like the content, if you think it helps, if you appreciate free DFS content every single day, and maybe you just appreciate the banter between Josh and myself sometimes, hit the thumbs up. And more importantly, subscribe to the channel, because that's what really puts us in a position to grow and get better production value, bring on better hosts and analysts, and keep furthering the brand here at Awesemo. So all your help, greatly appreciated. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe. And if you want to join the YouTube channel or the Awesemo YouTube channel, become a member. Honestly, it doesn't, I say this all the time, it doesn't affect me. We're not making money off of this. It's $2.99 a month, but it's also kind of cool. You get the badges, and the longer you're here, your badges upgrade from, I think it's like silver or bronze to silver to gold to platinum to diamond to then the awesome. It's a sick Awesemo gradient. You get to use some gnarly avatars that are only available to you. So it's $2.99 a month. It's pretty cool. And I love seeing that stuff in chat. All the guys that have signed up, maybe girls too, that have become members here on the YouTube channel. You ready to dive into this?
Absolutely.
All right. What do we got for fantasy for lineup study? I have a pretty good idea without even looking that I know what it's going to be.
Yeah. So it was obviously like a pretty gross slate. Magneto 999 took it down by 3.5 fantasy points. Lineup was, and I don't get the sense that I could have landed on something like this.
I'm looking now. Maybe I didn't exactly expect it to be what it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you didn't have RJ Hampton at the point guard spot at 0.9% ownership.
No,
who also didn't even play well.
Or the Jay Crowder play either, which I guess is fine from night to night. But man, that's a heck of a lineup.
You didn't think that Jay Crowder would go 8 of 12 from the field, 8 of 12 from 3?
No, I also didn't.
And foul out, by the way.
Yeah, Harkless was 11%, huh?
Yeah, I'm surprised it even got to that. Obviously, that was late news. Buddy Hield got ruled out. Harkless ended up playing 34 minutes, got the start. Became, obviously, an incredible value play just in general. But RJ Hampton, Jalen Brunson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jay Crowder, Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Mo Harkless, and Jonas Valanciunas once again in the optimal lineup to take down 100K. But you can see if Jordan still had it up or not. It doesn't matter. We've seen a lot of 150 max packed into the top sections of tournaments. Yesterday was not the case, and it felt that way. There wasn't a real ton of value to be found out there, so it's a lot of single bullets. Like obviously 150 maxers and stuff get into that mix, but last night was a lot more for those like the random style lineups than you normally get.
Joe Val's been in the winning lineup back-to-back nights too.
Yeah.
Big games. The Mo Bamba injury sucked for a lot of people too. He played 3 minutes and he didn't return. That sucked because he had been playing really well.
Yeah.
There were just a couple spots that were really disappointing yesterday, but that's what you get. We move on. Fortunately, you just have amnesia when it comes to NBA DFS and MLB DFS and NHL. It's a little bit more difficult with football. You have to wallow in that pain for a full week. You know what I mean? Yeah. You and I would talk about it all the time during NFL season.
Monday mornings were brutal, man.
They were so rough. Whenever I'd have a good week, I'd immediately jump into research on Monday. Like sometimes even that Sunday night. When I'd have a bad week, I'd need a cool off period. Like, all right, just let me step away if I had a horrible week and I'll come back to it, because I just get pissed off looking at NFL, knowing that I have to wait that long, other than Showdown, but it's not the same when you're looking at main slates with 11 or 12 games, you know?
It is kind of wild yesterday how the slate changed, dropping from 9 games to 8, because we had so much value on the Brooklyn side, just didn't exist.
Yeah, nothing at all.
You got bailed out.
The Daily Scrum News says yesterday's Raby show instant classic. Reminds me of Fantasy Insiders days. Great content. My sister doesn't play DFS, but sometimes she'll actually tune into this show, right? Just for entertainment. And I got a text from her. She's like, the rabies conversation was the greatest. So I said, you know what? Where did I get so turned around? And then I thought about it, Josh.
Okay.
The rabies vaccine can be used as a prophylactic, as a preventative. Well, let me give you an example.
I've never used a prophylactic with an animal before.
Let me give you an example. Do dogs get the rabies vaccine prior to exposure to a bite?
I have no idea.
Of course they do. Your dogs are vaccinated for rabies.
Oh, yeah. They wear a tag and all. Yeah. I guess I didn't know that answer.
So I'm not as crazy as it sounds. If I wanted to go out and say, hey, you know, doc, I'm really afraid of rabies. Listen, I just have this fear, right? Unfounded fear. And I need a rabies vax. I'm assuming they could give me one as a preventative, as a prophylactic.
You know what the most crazy part of that story is?
What's that?
I also got a text from your sister yesterday.
Well, that's just weird.
That's all I got.
That's what you came up with?
I didn't have a lot in the chamber there, man.
Hey, Meg. I hope you enjoy this one.
Hi. What's up?
She likes it purple.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Do I need to change shirts on stream?
No, that's Justine.
Oh, yeah, it is. Shit. Either way, wife works. Joke stands either way for me, man.
I don't know why we're friends. All right. Ready to dive into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Atlanta, Toronto, the Atlanta Hawks on the road. 2-point dogs, 224 total. So Trae Young, let me just set this up here. Trae Young, he's got the Q tag. I'm assuming he plays. I don't know. He's dealing with a calf injury. You can tell me whether you think he's going to be in or not. Danilo Gallinari was out last game. He is doubtful for this one. And then you still have no Collins. You still have no Hunter. So depending on how this news breaks, you could be looking at a very shorthanded Atlanta team. Not to mention even guys like Tony Snell, who is at least a rotational piece. He is out of this one as well. So there are some spots that could get interesting for Atlanta. Let's start there.
Yeah, they're basically missing like half of the guys that play, or like half of maybe more than half of the actual minutes that would play if they were at full strength. This is, I mean, they are really, really getting beaten up here. We just got an ownership update 3 minutes ago, so I'm grabbing that now before I really start my talking. It's good to see that the guy that's at the top is exactly the guy that should be at the top. Makes me feel good. So Atlanta's going to end up having to play a bunch of dudes that end up useless. But that does make at least 4 or 5 of these guys, the guys that are going to play north of 30 minutes, pretty interesting. Whether that is Trae Young, who's 8,900 on Fanduel, 9,100 on Draftkings. And again, this is a 6-game slate, like very much in play. The only guy that I'm not all that interested in would be Lou Will. He's picking up 18% ownership on Fanduel right now. I had him more in like the 8% range. Obviously, if Trae Young is out, feel free to get yourself some Lou Will. But if I am ranking guys from Atlanta, the guy at the top of the heap on Fanduel, oddly enough, is going to be Solomon Hill at 3,700. He's a terrible fantasy performer. There's not a lot of value out here on the slate right now. He is 3,700, and that's just sort of where you need to soak it up. But Trae Young would be my number 2. On DK, though, Clint Capella, only 8,500, projected for 25% ownership right now. I think that's perfectly valid. I think Trae Young is actually getting a little underrepresented across both sites. We haven't projected for 11% ownership, and maybe that's just the Q tag, but I would like him more in like the 20% range. So Capella and Trae Young are the clear stars. Solomon Hill works as a pay down. To me, Kevin Huerter and Bogdan Bogdanovic are just filler. Bogdanovic's price is a little bit too high to really squeeze out a ton of value.
All right, so if Trae Young, let's do that. If Trae Young doesn't play, now do you have him in?
Mm-hmm.
You do have him in. If he doesn't play, the weird thing is that Brandon Goodwin's minutes have been so all over the place this season, right? And I guess it's difficult to say with the coaching changes, bringing in McMillan, because he's been toying with this rotation from the beginning, what it's going to look like. He played 37 minutes against the Charlotte Hornets. Does he become the top value option if Trae Young is out, or do we have some concerns that he's once again going to be relegated to a minor role and that was just a blip on the radar?
No, if Trae Young is out, Brandon Goodwin,
right?
He's 3,800 on FanDuel and 3,500 on DraftKings. He just becomes a phenomenal play. Yep. There's just no way around it. And Lou Will become incrementally better, and $4,600 Lou Will on FanDuel will become quite a prize because there's nothing else out there for Atlanta today.
Right, and much of the top value is going to come from this Atlanta backcourt if Trae Young sits. So on the Toronto side, then we have them still favored because, well, Kyle Lowry is back. You have Siakam, you have Anunoby. Most of the team is healthy. Fred VanVleet's the only one sidelined tonight. So 2-point favorites. Now that they have everyone but VanVleet back, and many of these price points have begun to actually reflect the fact that they weren't, or that those guys were all out. For example, Malachi Flynn's above 5K, Gary Trent 6K coming off that monster game. What was it? 44 points, 64 DraftKings points. All of these guys are priced up. Do we just kind of avoid them now, or is Bembry still an option if assuming he gets minutes? It seems like a spot that's probably relatively easy to avoid.
Yeah, I think only the starters are viable here. So Kyle Lowry is on a completely different tier. I think he's the second best play on the slate behind Paul George, who we will get to in a bit. He's getting a ton of ownership, but 7,200 on FanDuel for Lowry, 7,400 on DraftKings. Sees a big usage bump and assist rate bump with Fred VanVleet off the floor. Projected for mid-30s in ownership on FanDuel, completely warranted. Projected for mid-20s in ownership on DraftKings, completely warranted. You're playing him in cash games. You're playing him in GPPs. You're playing him just no matter what. But I don't think that we draw the line there for the rest of Toronto. Pascal Siakam, I think, is in a really nice spot, 8,700, 8,600. There's just, with Atlanta being so thin, the guys that'll be soaking up some of these minutes, whether that's like Nathan Knight or if they have to play Okongwu a little bit more, they just don't really, Solomon Hill, they just don't have enough like legitimate bodies. So I think Siakam continues to be in a good spot. I will go back to Gary Trent, 6,200 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings, mostly because of the positions, but we only have him at about 10% ownership right now. That seems a little low to me. Anunoby probably a little overpriced, but still playable. He's picking up ownership on FanDuel just because of the dual positions. There's no way I'm getting to Chris Boucher on FanDuel at 7,800, but you can absolutely get to him at 6,900 on DK, particularly when he's only 1% owned. Chris Boucher, to me, given the way that Atlanta is set up, looks like a really nice contrarian option on a 6-game slate.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're willing to pay just shy of 6K or 7K for Chris Boucher on DraftKings, hoping he gets, I mean, he's got it. We got to get the 30-minute mark from him. I mean, maybe we don't. Maybe he's a solid per-minute producer. But now that everyone's coming back and getting healthy outside of VanVleet, what are you hoping for? What are you projecting him for? 30 minutes, 29 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, he played 30 minutes their last game, 26 the game before that, 36, 32 in the games before that. It doesn't appear that Aaron Baines is going to be in the rotation any longer. They took him out on this last game. They did give Kem Birch some of that backup run. So I think this is just going to be Chris Boucher's time to shine, and he'll play that full run at the center spot so long as he can stay on the floor. I gave him 28 minutes because I do try to be a little bit pessimistic with him. And I think that he comes out as like a pretty interesting play, well more than the 1% that we're showing.
All right, fair enough. Let's take a trip to Indiana where they are hosting, the LA Clippers. You have this is a big one here. Yeah. We got this news yesterday, or maybe it was even 2 days ago. No Kawhi Leonard playing today. So Paul George and a few other guys are going to be worth discussing. The Clippers are still 3-point favorites against Indiana. You have a 230-point total here, so it should be a relatively high-scoring game. How does Kawhi's absence affect what we do with the Clippers today? Because Paul George right now is the highest projected owned player on DraftKings.
He was the number one contender on both FanDuel and DraftKings as well. He sees massive usage bumps. He sees 36 minutes with Kawhi out. So I have him at a 1.35 fantasy point per minute rate. Shows up in the optimal lineup for me 46% of the time on FanDuel, 41 on DK. Unquestioned no-brainer play. It's a pace up spot for the Clippers. They actually gained 2 possessions over their average just in this matchup against Indiana. And the part that I think that will get slept on the most, Indiana's defense isn't very good when Miles Turner isn't on the floor, and he is not going to be on the floor for all 48 minutes of this game. Sabonis being at center offers 0 rim protection. So I think they're going to be able to get into the paint a little bit more. I think that should help Paul George. Clippers like to live in that mid-range a little bit more than most teams, or at least they have in the past. So 9K for Paul George on FanDuel, absolutely. 8,700 on DraftKings. I don't see a way around it. but I actually like everything here for the Clippers. Zubac, Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, all of these guys are showing up like with 20-ish% ownership. I actually see the Clippers on DK as pretty significantly under-owned, whether that's George, Morris, Jackson, Zubac, even Luke Kennard to an extent at 16% ownership. I want to get to all of these guys. I love this spot against Indiana with no Turner.
Okay. Now, it's funny that you mentioned the pace here. Pacers play at the 7th fastest pace in the league on the season. Over the last month, they're playing at the 3rd fastest pace in the league. Yeah. So that can't be overlooked. And I think you're right that a lot of people don't really look at this and immediately think it's a pace up spot, because the Pacers for so long have been just a middle of the road pace team. That has changed a lot this year. And over the last month, they've made huge pace up strides. I won't even say strides. They've just made huge adjustments, whatever you want to call it. And now they're playing at the 3rd fastest pace. So you're right. And by the way, if you've noticed, Pacers have been playing in very high total games lately as well.
They have. Yeah. I had no concept that they were. So they are 5th in my pace metric, which is basically sort of like a running average, all things considered. So, they, like you mentioned, they were 7th, but they've been higher. So I'm basically splitting the difference with mine. And I think that makes some sense. I had no idea that they were there.
Me neither.
I look at it every day.
Right. And that's the thing. You look at the totals too, and it kind of just goes over your head that every Pacers total is around 230. So
I this spot looks so good for the Clippers. So long as Paul George doesn't have like too many espressos before the game starts, I think we should be fine.
All right. And yeah, by the way, if you're talking ownership on DraftKings, and you mentioned a lot of this, Marcus Morris, Luke Kennard, Ivica Zubac, all of these guys right now are pulling 15+% ownership. And that's not including Paul George, who's the highest owned player on both sides.
Yeah. And I wouldn't make any changes to any of that sort of stuff. Like, to me, I have Morris in my Sims ahead of the ownership, Reggie Jackson ahead of the ownership, like quite a bit, in fact, at 5,400, Zubac ahead of the ownership, Kennard ahead of the ownership. The only guy that I have that's like over-owned is Rondo, and I feel more than okay with that.
So Miles Turner, you already mentioned it, is out for this one. And that's pretty significant from a defensive standpoint. He might not be the greatest rebounder, but Miles Turner is a great defender, right? He's a very good defender. He's a good rim protector, fantastic shot blocker. I mean, this guy's averaging 3.5 blocks per game in 30 minutes. Think about that number, Josh.
He's the best shot blocker in the league.
Right now, he certainly is. Yeah. Now, granted, if you gave Hassan Whiteside 30 minutes a game, we'd be having a conversation. But
Miles Turner isn't negatively impacting the team by chasing those blocks either. He anchors an incredible defense and is
correct. And that's what I was getting at. Hassan Whiteside.
Oh, I know,
like minus 15 in those games, but he probably averaged 7 blocks. Straight chasing. And the thing about Hassan Whiteside, if I said Miles Turner, I meant Hassan Whiteside. I might have even said Miles Sanders. Shit, I don't know. Hassan Whiteside.
Miles Davis.
When you say he consider me Miles Davis, when you say he chases blocks, he chases them to the point where he puts himself so out of position that on the ones that he misses, it's so bad. It's kind of like in football where you have a cornerback that makes some filthy interceptions, but you don't talk about the spots where he gambles and loses and gives up a 55-yard touchdown.
Exactly. It's the same sort of principle there for sure.
Except one of them is a lot more devastating because 2 points is a lot different, but it's over the course of the game, it adds up.
So by the way, with the Pacers with Miles Turner in at center, 109.2 defensive rating. That's a 78th percentile outcome. The Indiana Pacers with Domantas Sabonis in at center, 114.7 defensive rating. That is a 30th percentile outcome. So they go from significantly above average to significantly below average by making that switch. That is a big time swing if you are the offense for the other team.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you make a good point on why we have to look at some of these options for the LA Clippers. Again, though, from a rebounding standpoint, you're not exactly getting a boost for the opponent because Miles Turner is not a great rebounder. But that would be the only thing I'd mention. Malcolm Brogdon coming off a huge game last time out and 63 DraftKings points, got to be his best game of the season. Domantas Sabonis was out for a couple of games. He's been back. Do we look to anyone for the Pacers now that Turner remains out?
Absolutely. But it's not a lot. So Domantas Sabonis for $9K on FanDuel is just sort of permanently in play. Because you have to roster 2 power forwards, especially on a 6-game slate, raw points will rule the roost, generally speaking. He's priced appropriately. I have him projected right around his normal rates, but if he is getting those minutes and those rates, you can't just ignore him because he has the ability to go for north of 50 just casually. So I have him showing up in the optimal lineup 20% of the time on FanDuel. That is slightly north of his ownership. So I do like getting to Sabonis, but I think Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert in particular, way too expensive on FanDuel at 8,300. That's just a really tough play. Brogdon is okay. On the DraftKings side, though, Malcolm Brogdon only $6,700, $800 cheaper than he is on FanDuel. To me, he is the actual best play from Indiana on DK. 16% owned right now. That's exactly where I have him. So that ownership looks spot on. Sabonis to me is actually over-owned at 16% on DraftKings. I'd be more likely to get away from him on DK since you don't really have to worry about positions on DraftKings. You can kind of put everybody everywhere, or at least move people around enough that it won't matter all that much. I do think Karis LeVert then comes into play a little bit more, but they are the only 3 guys that I think are viable. And even on FanDuel, I think it's only Sabonis. It's a tough matchup against the Clippers, too.
Right. I don't talk about defensive matchups a lot, but it does stand the reason that Brogdon benefits from Patrick Beverley being out. Patrick Beverley is still a very scrappy defender that will make your life hell. My assumption is Paul George sees a whole lot of Karis LeVert today. And, again, while we don't really harp on individual matchups, I don't hate the fact that Patrick Beverley is going to be watching this one from the bench. And in turn, you're going to have Malcolm Brogdon dealing with Reggie Jackson. So it could be worse.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Reggie Jackson not going to be much of a deterrent defensively.
Exactly. Want to go to the Lakers and Charlotte?
I do. Well, not really. I mean, it's the Lakers and Charlotte, but yeah.
Yeah. Every Lakers game I've seen in the past 2 weeks has been a sub 210 total.
That's what you get. Oh, well, you mean like seeing the total. I was gonna say that's what you get for watching a Lakers game, but that's not really how you meant it. Did you see Kuzma's plus minus yesterday?
What was it?
So here are the other 4 starters. Markieff Morris, -3. Andre Drummond, -5. Dennis Schroeder, -5. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, -6. And Kyle Kuzma at a crisp -26.
How many minutes?
That would be 30.
Oh my God, he was almost minus a point per minute?
Yep.
Oof.
Yep. Yeah. Every time he was out there, it was just like they were slowly, it was like the national debt calculator. It was just, just going up.
That's good. That's a good one.
I knew you'd like that.
Yeah. I have to use that. Yeah. Andre Drummond was dreadful too.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect him to take 3 shots, but anytime Kuzma can keep gunning to go -26 and plus minus, I think you have to do it. Look, he had 10 boards. Turnovers weren't great. Played 25 minutes.
You just don't try and polish a turd, Josh. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I don't know what to say here. It
was bad. Like, it's just no way around it.
I mean, like, they weren't bad when he was out there, but he had no ability in DFS purposes. Obviously, we should have rostered Taj Gibson, who had 8 points, 10 boards, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 17 minutes. But I can't figure that out in advance.
You can put lipstick on a piece of shit, but it's still a pig. You know what I mean?
I don't think that you got that one right, but we'll go with it anyway. I won't remember that or use that in the future.
I'm just joking. By the way, the Nets and Timberwolves game has been rescheduled. Now, I won that bet yesterday by default. We agreed upon that, right?
Oh, God. Are we really going to do this?
I mean...
By the way, for like a brief moment, for like an hour, I
thought you were going to win a bet against me.
Cat gets ruled out. I was going to make a life hedge, take Timberwolves money line just in case.
I was going to pay you in some of my precious crypto too, and I wasn't looking forward to that. Much rather pay in fiat. But
the fact that you're going to claim a victory here because you're getting points is nonsense.
No, I'm kidding. But it is rescheduled for today. So here's what I'm thinking. Because it's rescheduled for this afternoon.
Really?
Well, they rescheduled it. They rescheduled it for today, yesterday. Like, they've been planning on playing today since yesterday, right? Like, right after it was postponed, they rescheduled it for today. But I didn't know that it was going to be this afternoon. So let's take a look at the line. We got so many tweets about this and so many comments in chat in our premium Slack chat, which, you know, again, you should sign up. It's very fun. You get the premium Slack chat, the office hours where all of the pros are answering your questions each and every day to help you better your play, become a better DFS player. Ownership projections, the best out there, the best player projections, all of this built by the #1 ranked DFS player and a lot of other phenomenal DFS players that have had a hand in building these tools. We're talking about Tom Kennedy, right? CEO of Awesemo, behind the scenes, but this guy's one of the best out there. Eddie is another one behind the scenes. You don't hear from him much, but he's fantastic. Sean's on, another great player. And how about Steve Buzzard?
Yeah.
Who's just always winning.
Yeah. We're locked and low. Rinpack. We got everybody.
Rinpack, yeah. Like these guys have all helped build these tools and fine tune these tools. We brought Steve on recently. We brought Sean on recently. All we do is continue building up and adding to the arsenal to make the tools better, to make the top stacks tool, the boomer bust tool, the lineup builder, all of this stuff better, right? And you get the fantasy cruncher add-on if you want that too. It's a huge asset for anybody playing multiple lineups any night. The lineup builder, if you're playing 1, even 2 or 3 lineups per night, no matter what style of player you are, we got you, whether it's for weekly $3.95 express pass, you want to go make a legitimate investment. You really want to invest, become better at DFS and make something of this. You have the full annual pass. If you want to go every single sport, we got you. We got every tool for every sport that you need to win in DFS. So check it out at awesemo.com/join. If you have any questions about it, you can hit me up on Twitter at Lafayette_DB. You got to be following me first. It's only fair. All right.
There's no line on this game anywhere.
We don't have a line yet? Okay.
No.
So if we get a line, and here's my thing though. I'm assuming Cat doesn't play. So I don't.
He got ruled out yesterday for personal. So I don't know if he was just like preemptively not playing and then they canceled the game.
No, but he didn't know. People were saying he didn't play because of the protests in Minnesota. He didn't play because it was his mom's death anniversary from COVID, and they were going to do a memorial for his mom. That's what it was.
Seems like he's open today then.
Stop it, dude. I'm not going down this road with you.
What do you mean? How long does he have to just skip this Brooklyn Nets game? If they reschedule it for 2 days, can he come back to play?
I think
the memorial. You're telling me the memorial was supposed to be yesterday.
Yesterday, right? Did
it happen?
I'm assuming it did, but I'm assuming also that like whenever you know this, and for a second I thought you were trying to make a joke there. You weren't.
No, I'm just saying at some point in time he's got to come back if it happens.
Back up. I know you weren't. Okay, I know. At first you really scared me, but when these guys take personal days for like family matters, at least from what I've seen in this year especially, it seems to be for more than a day. It seems to be for at least a couple of days. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
And like, obviously I don't blame him for doing that.
Right. Yeah, sure. But it is weird though, that something like this definitely would have been planned, right? So you would have thought the Cat would have been ruled out before like 5 hours before the game.
Also true.
You know, like this isn't something spur of the moment. Hey, we're having a memorial.
Oh, damn. It's the 12th.
Right. Exactly.
Now.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if he
Roy's shouting out a money line right now. I don't know where he's seeing that.
Yeah.
Roy, where are you seeing that line? You probably on one of Ben Raz's ridiculous sports books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. ProSportsBettingGuys.I97.
Yeah. Definitely a place that I trust my money.
Yeah. I'm going to deposit a lot of money on that. If we get one and Cat plays, right?
SethYates.com.
And Cat plays and it's 6 points, we're back on.
Yeah, that works.
All right.
And if Cat doesn't play and it's 9, we're back on.
Okay.
At 6 though.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You said if Cat doesn't play?
Cat's status to this is irrelevant. We made that bet and then Cat got ruled out. So whether he's in or out,
No. That doesn't work like that. Come on.
We made a bet at 6 and he got ruled out after that. That's your problem, not mine. You were going to have to take it last night. What's the difference for taking it today?
Okay, and the game got canceled. That's your problem and not mine.
I agree that's my problem because I was going to clean you out.
On a technicality.
They would have covered one way or the other. They covered the 9 too. I don't care. Yeah. So
I agree with El Negro Loco. If Cat plays today, he's going to crush for the moms. And then they're going to not only cover, but they're going to they're going to win money line. But you know, the problem with that narrative is it can backfire so quickly because you're so emotional that you could actually play awful basketball because of your mom.
Is Cat the type of guy that would get up for the game in that scenario?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Tough question. He might not be strong enough for that.
Yeah. And like, it's not like he has a lot of help.
If Cat plays and we got 6 points, deal's back on.
If Cat plays, I don't know. It should just be 6. It shouldn't matter who plays.
No. That's totally. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say that part. Yes. If the line is 6, where we hit it, then it's on, no matter who's in or out.
Why does the line matter today? Because if anybody else is out, I think it's different.
No. The line has to be at 6. We took it at 6.
I mean, I think that we're just saying that the line continues to be 6.
So if the line comes back out and it's 10, I'm getting 6.
Yeah, why not? That is the terms we made. You don't get to update this because the Cat news came out after we made the bet.
That's low. That's low.
We made a bet. We made a bet at 6. Other news came out and moved the line to 9. You were going to make me move it to 9 then. What's the difference now?
That's just
I should have got to smack you out for this yesterday.
That's just someone that desperately needs to win a bet against his buddy to prove his worth.
Yes, absolutely right. 100%. I would not advocate for this if I didn't have to eat hot chips and shave my face.
You know what? Screw it. Just like I'm a good friend and ate that chip with you when I didn't need to because I saw you going through pain, I'm going to give it to you here and give you whatever it comes out at and take 6 because I'm so confident that they will still cover the 6 points. How about that?
And don't worry, I'm going to money line bet the Wolves to cover this when it inevitably happens because I truly hate losing and it seems like I can't win against you.
All right. So do we like anything from the Lakers?
I forgot we were talking about this. So on DK, I think everybody needs to go straight back to Andre Drummond, 6,700 on DraftKings, projected for 22% ownership. I think that is warranted. Dennis Schroeder is 6,500. He's getting some ownership. I think that's warranted. I like those guys a little bit less on Fanduel, but still comparable. I don't see anybody that's like an amazing play, and everybody that's a good play is already owned. So you can play Drummond, you can play Schroeder. If you want to go to Kuzma, I think that's okay. He's 7K on Fanduel, no ownership. 6,800 on DraftKings, no ownership. But you're not really going deep onto the Lakers here.
Yeah, what about Charlotte?
The Charlotte Hornets. Lots to like here, actually. So Terry Rozier is 7K on FanDuel and 8,200 on DK. You can play Terry Rozier quite a bit on FanDuel. He's projected for 30% ownership. There's that. I think that is essentially warranted. So I think Terry Rozier looks great there. I think Miles Bridges is pretty dramatically under-owned on both sites. 6,200 on FanDuel. 5,800 on DraftKings, showing up with about 20% ownership. I would like to go a little bit higher than that. He's not the typical 0.8 or 0.75 guy that usually fits that realm. And I wish you got extra points for yamming on people, but unfortunately you don't. So he's like a 0.85 guy. That's about where I have him here. I actually think he should be in like the 25 to 30% range today. So I really like getting to Miles Bridges. I think PJ Washington is certainly on the table. Devontae Graham, Jalen McDaniels. I think you can work through any of these guys, but McDaniels on DraftKings is a completely different play. McDaniels is $1,700 cheaper on DK than he is on FanDuel today. So largely ignore him on FanDuel. Play a lot of him on DK because he's projected for 29% ownership.
All right. So any priority options from either side of this game?
Yeah. So I think that Miles Bridges and Jalen McDaniels are both priorities on DraftKings. And I think Terry Rozier and Miles Bridges are both priorities on FanDuel. If we're talking about from a Lakers perspective, Andre Drummond on DK is kind of a priority.
All right. So we've been working real hard on this Hall of Fame page, like real hard behind the scenes, like doing a ton of work into this. And a screenshot just came across. I'll save it for tomorrow. But, oh, God, I love seeing this where they post it with the Awesemo logo, and then you look down, and there's 3 other Awesemo logos in the top 5 of a large field 50K to first tournament. That feels so good.
It's so much fun to see.
Oh, it's great. It's great. And then another one just came in, first, second, and third place Oh no, sorry. First and second. First, two guys tied for first are Awesemo and I Hustle For It, another Awesemo logo, and then another. Oh God, that's so good.
I'm looking at it right now. I see one with 3 Awesemo logos in the top 5. It's
great. I'm about to pop everywhere. A button over here. You know. OKC, Utah. What? I know. OKC, Utah. I'll be honest with you here, right? It's 16.5 point spread, 223 total. I get it. Utah's on the second of a back-to-back, but they also just lost at home to the Wizards, and I don't think that bodes well for the Thunder today. Now, my one concern, and do we predict blowouts all the time? No, but this Oklahoma City team, and call me a hypocrite, I don't care. They're so bad. Like Josh, they're so bad. What's up?
Manny C said the loser of the bet should get a rabies vaccine.
Someone said they work at a vet in the YouTube comments. They're like, you can get one, but it's really tough to find. So I'm not even sure where I could get one. I'll get one. I looked at it. They said it's just like a, regular tetanus shot or something. I'll document it. But
I think I'd rather have rabies.
But I don't lose bets to you. So
that's also true.
In all seriousness with OKC.
Yeah.
They're dreadful. And I'm not just, I like to use hyperbole, exaggerate sometimes because it makes for a better show. You know what I mean? You gotta say things differently sometimes, but they've already been down SGA and Horford. Now they lose Pokusevski. Isaiah Roby is out for this game. So, I mean, this is an awful lineup. None of these guys would be a starter on like 28 teams in the league when those teams are at full strength. And
there's only one. There's only one starter in the league on this Oklahoma. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's the only one. And by the way, he's a great defensive player, but if you're counting on Lou Dort to lead the offensive charge, you've got another thing coming. So Utah could win this by 50. I wouldn't, honestly, if someone told me they took Utah and laid 16.5 points, that's such a big spread, but I'd just be like, yeah, okay, makes sense to me.
I think they should sit Rudy Gobert today.
I didn't think about that, but Quinn Snyder just doesn't do that stuff.
Dude, you could, I would tell Rudy Gobert to go grab a massage and hang out. Yeah. You're a big dude. We need you later. And you are useless here.
You could sit, in all seriousness, you could sit Mitchell and you could win this game with Bojan Bogdanovic. You could win it with Joe Ingles. Royce O'Neal's a good defender. You could win it with Derek Favors at the 5. And I'm serious too. Even with Niang, you could win this game with just those guys. I firmly believe that.
I think Derek Favors might be the best player on Oklahoma City if they just switch teams.
Oh yeah.
And he'll be like the 9th guy on Utah today.
Wow. It's ugly. So let's just start with OKC.
Yeah, we're going to play a lot of them. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is not fun just because the thing is they still have to score points and they still have to play 240 combined minutes. So
yeah,
someone has to fill the void. Who's it going to be for us today?
So it's very, very site dependent, but Darius Bazley is a great play on both sites. He's projected for 26% ownership on Fanduel, 21 on DK. He's 5,800 and 5,500 on both of those sites. He played, mid 30s minutes right out of the gate coming back. That's going to happen again. He's going to be looking for a shot. There's not a lot of other options going on for Oklahoma City. So I actually think that his ownership is warranted. Now, the rest of it for Fanduel is sort of these guys aren't picking up all that much ownership and I'm going to take some chances. So I think Moses Brown has the ability to be an interesting GPP play. So a contrarian option. I think Jalen Horde can be a contrarian GPP option. I think Tony Bradley on Draftkings has to get looked at, and that one stinks. But he's 4K. If Moses Brown doesn't work out, the only other person that's going to get those minutes is Tony Bradley because Muscala is out as well. So Tony Bradley for 4K on Draftkings looks good. I think you can play a little Maladon on DK at single-digit ownership. Unfortunately, most of these guys look but they got to play the entire game anyway, and that is a little bit troublesome to me. But Darius Bazley is the only one that I would say on both sites would be a priority. Tony Bradley becomes that priority on DK as well, just because of a broken price tag.
Okay. So as ugly as it seems, there is still value here in OKC.
Yeah, it's not great, but yeah, there has to be. We have Kenrich Williams on Fanduel projected for 18% ownership at 5,200. I won't have a single share of him at that price tag.
How many players do you think get court time today for OKC?
I projected 10.
You got 10?
Yeah. I mean, if they really are down by 44 in the third, add 2 or 3 more to that for whoever is functionally still available.
Right.
But I basically have a 9-man rotation and some extra time going to Justin Robinson, who's been seeing a little bit of time lately.
So Mike Conley sat yesterday dealing with right hamstring management. I'm assuming he plays today, but it wouldn't be crazy just to sit him in both legs of the back-to-back. He doesn't need to play. Clarkson's been listed as doubtful every game. I haven't seen anything on him yet today.
I think he's going. I have him in.
You have him in. Okay.
But I also he also shouldn't play. There's no reason that they should bring anybody back for this. Yeah.
No, there's not. But if all of these guys are in, I'm honestly worried about the blowout. I am. I don't see a way. Is there always a way? Go ahead. I was just gonna say, is there always a way that a bad team can shoot well? Yeah, it happened. Like, it does happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but one team is one of the best in the league, and the other is by far the worst in the league right now. And they're even missing some of those bad players that have made them worst in the league.
This is what we talked about last week. There are 2 different kinds of blowouts. This is the blowout where Oklahoma City scores 67 fantasy points, and Utah doesn't even have to be good offensively to beat them by 30. This is not the reverse scenario where this is going to be some sort of track meet and Oklahoma City can keep up and Utah puts up 140. Like, obviously Utah can put up 140, but they are not going to need a lot of points. If Utah's defense is playing as Utah's defense does, Oklahoma City has no ability to create offense on every single possession of the game. So this could be a game where Utah wins 98-68. And that blowout is not going to be helpful for anybody because no one's going to get there for Utah.
Yeah, it's a good point. So are you doing anything with the Jazz?
Probably not. Like, clearly on a 6-game slate, you are still rostering Rudy Gobert, every starter. Rudy Gobert, Mitchell, Conley, Bogdanovich, O'Neal, Clarkson to a degree. You're still getting to those guys if you're playing multiple lineups. If you're a 1 lineup guy, I don't think it's crazy that you end up with one of them. That's fine. Oh, no, Donovan Mitchell made it into my lineup. Yeah, of course, that's fine. He's going to shoot 30 times, maybe even in 3 quarters. I think all of these guys are showing up as completely overowned. We have Donovan Mitchell at 9,200 projected for 23% ownership on FanDuel. I'd be more likely to have 0. He needs a very specific game for that to happen if everybody is in. The only way that I think that we could really roster guys from Utah is if we start seeing some of these guys getting lopped off for rest today, which is exactly what should happen. And
I think it's got to happen. Not only are they playing OKC, but they're on the second of a back-to-back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a perfect opportunity to rest Rudy Gobert.
There's actually no better opportunity that you would find this season to rest Rudy Gobert or whoever you want to rest. Yeah.
What's the Jazz schedule like right now? Like, what do they got next? Okay, so they play today against the Thunder, and then they don't play again until Friday against the Pacers. Should get these guys an extra day.
I certainly would. Then you got the Lakers back-to-back. Yeah. Rockets, Timberwolves. Oh my God. Timberwolves, Kings. Wow. They could win 8 straight.
Yeah. Just park the big man. If anybody else has anything nagging, you're about to get 3 straight days.
I'm with you. Let's close this out. We got 2 games to go here, Josh. We have Boston and Portland, Miami and Phoenix. So the the Boston Celtics 1-point dogs. Like I said, they went on that insane run in Denver the other day, just 31-3 run to close out the game. I think it was 38-5 at the end. It was nuts. 228 total. Where do we go with the Boston Celtics today against a bad Portland defense?
This is a really weird game for me. The guys that I'm getting to are not the guys that I actually expected to get to, but once again, it's just heavy starter exposure. So Robert Williams is 6K on both sites. I think that he is probably the best play across both sites, but he's properly owned. He's getting 17% ownership on FanDuel. I like that. He's getting 12 on DK. I actually think that's a little low. I like Kemba, 6,600 on both sites, picking up similar ownership to Robert Williams. I think that he should be slightly more owned than that. The guy that I think that is over-owned, 8K Jaylen Brown on Fanduel, 78K Jaylen Brown on Draftkings. He's in the low to mid 20s across both sites. I actually think that number should be just a little bit lower than that, particularly on Draftkings. Jayson Tatum's not picking up all that much love at 9,200 on DK. I think there are better options to spend up on. But you are working your way through all 5 of these main Boston guys. They have enough delineation in their rotations now that they don't have anybody that kind of like fluctuates between really playable and not playable. So if I'm ranking them overall, it's probably Robert Williams and Kemba Walker in their own tier, Jaylen Brown just firmly as the third option, and then you're sort of just flipping coins between Marcus Smart and Jayson Tatum. I actually like getting to Boston quite a bit. In the aggregate, Boston is my 5th favorite team out of the 12 today.
Wow. Okay. And those things can change, of course, throughout the day. But as of now, they're your 5th favorite team out of, what do we got, 12 teams? Okay. Yeah. So slightly better than average.
Yeah, but it's very concentrated. Like some of these other teams will be spread out a little bit more. They've got more guys that are viable. If you are not one of the guys, those 5 main guys from Boston, you are not in a single lineup anywhere.
Are you feeling anything from the Blazers?
Going straight back to my man, Damian Lillard, 8,800 on FanDuel. He's been down as of late, 1.14 fantasy points per minute, but I liken this a little bit to the Zach LaVine situation where the price just came down, but you know that the actual talent of the man is higher than that from an offensive standpoint.
Man, that last game though is crazy.
Really, really not great.
Crazy. 12 points, 3 assists, only shot 10 times, played 37 minutes. He averaged it was close to half a fantasy point per minute. He was on like PJ Tucker status, which I've never seen from Dame. I've seen bad games. That might be the worst fantasy game I've ever seen given the minutes.
Yeah, it's not ideal. But
that means a lot of people are not going to be going to Dame Lillard today.
Yeah. Now he's 9,500 on DraftKings. That's a not fun price tag for the way that he's playing. He's also 8% owned. So if you want to get a little bit contrarian in GPP, I think that looks pretty good. Going to CJ for $8,100 on both sites seems okay. Robert Covington is picking up some ownership at 5,900 on FanDuel. I think that's mostly positional more than anything else, and the fact that there's not a ton of value out there, but I get it. We're at a point now where I think like Nurkic and Kanter are basically going to be splitting center minutes. That is a terrible situation for trying to figure out what you like. But Nurkic is at 12% ownership on DraftKings. That's the highest number for anyone on Portland. I don't disagree with it, but I am not really comfortable grabbing any of the big men from Portland right now. It just scares me a little bit because there's nothing to stop either one of them from being the guy that goes off. And eventually you would think they're going to stretch Nurkic out.
You would hope. Well, I don't know. Enes Kanter's played really well. And I know he's not a good defender. That's understandable for sure. But
I mean, they're the most overrated team in the league right now. So I don't know what to really make of Portland.
Yeah, they've been a pretty lucky team for sure. There's no denying that.
31 and 22 with a neutral point differential, plus 0.1.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Hey, but they find ways to win tough games, Josh.
Yeah, that is not a skill.
But no, that's like a terrestrial radio take for sure. Yeah. They find ways to win tough games, Bob. I don't know what to tell you. These teams,
like you get credit for those wins. That's great, but that doesn't make you more likely to win in the future.
Right. But they are wins, Josh.
They are wins.
They are
yes,
wins.
They are.
Miami and Phoenix. Miami Heat 3-point dogs, 216.5 total. So Phoenix playing a second of a back-to-back, both of them at home. And the only news we have from Miami is that Victor Oladipo is not even traveling, has not traveled with the team for the 4-game road trip that they embarked on just the other day, Josh. So that's it for Miami. Is there anything we like here?
No, this entire game is terrible. Jimmy Butler, again, because it's a 6-game slate, particularly on FanDuel where you roster 2 people at every position, he is always in play. 9,400, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. You just have to play guys like that because of their ceiling. Bam is less interesting because of his position, but he is 8,300. Jimmy is the only guy that I would say is any sort of priority, and that's only on FanDuel. I don't have anybody on DraftKings from Miami north of 8.6% likelihood of being in the optimal. Only Butler cracks double digits in ownership, and that is only 12%. This is a really, like, Miami hasn't been good. Phoenix is really good. neither of these teams are fun to roster from a DFS perspective. Usually when they play each other, it's even worse.
All right. So the Phoenix side, Jay Crowder in the winning lineup last night. Devin Booker had a decent enough game, 24, 7 and 7. Chris Paul, 9, 10 and 4. The reason I bring these numbers up, DeAndre Ayton, 18, 8, 0 assists with 3 steals, is every single day you're getting such similar numbers, between 30 and 40 fantasy points for all these guys. And they're all kind of priced to a point where you go, I'm not sure I want to pay $8,300 for Chris Paul or $9K for Devin Booker on a slate that has a lot of really good options in that same price range, especially against Miami.
I have no interest in this Phoenix team. Mikal Bridges, I actually think is an okay value on Fanduel at 5,600. He's at 12% ownership, and I agree with it. Everybody else is in single digits, and I don't want any of it. On the DK side, only Jay Crowder at 4,500 crests the 10% mark in ownership. I don't even agree with that. I have everybody in single digits, no higher than Bridges at 7.8%. This is just like not a late night hammer to me. These guys spread out everything that they do. It's always just this flat, like everybody's got 35 fantasy point type stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm out on it.
Yep. I can see Crowder being fine on DraftKings if he gets up to 30 minutes again, but he fouled out yesterday in 25 minutes, by the way. So likely, I'm not sure when he fouled out. I'd be interested to see if he was on pace for more than that. Let me check, because if you're, he was probably in foul trouble all game. So it would take me forever to just figure out whether or not it was actually an issue. But how many minutes do you give Jay Crowder tonight anyway?
I give him 28.
28? That sounds about right.
I could give him 30 and it wouldn't, that'd be fine. And he would just be appropriately owned on DraftKings.
So he didn't get in any foul trouble in the first half. He came back very late in the game. And, okay, so he was really only on pace for maybe 26 minutes yesterday. That's worth pointing out, because if I'm playing Jay Crowder at 4,500, I want at least 28, 30 minutes from him to feel comfortable.
Yeah, because you're probably going to need them.
Yep, exactly. Before we go, I want to shout out our sponsor, No House Advantage. For those of you guys that are not familiar with them, it's time to familiarize yourself with them, because, well, if you want to win money, it's the best place to do it right now, because you're going to have every opportunity to use the tools that are free to you at awesemo.com to win money at No House Advantage, where you've got peer-to-peer player prop betting. It's not like the single bets, the single prop bets at DraftKings or FanDuel. At No House Advantage, it's a tournament-style, GPP-style format where you take 8 of your favorite player props. You put your favorite one, the one you're most confident about, at the top, work it down to the least confident, and you put it in a tournament-style contest against your peers. You win real money, guaranteed prize pools, and all of the tools that we have for No House Advantage at Awesemo are entirely free. I'm talking about the player prop projections, talking about the optimal lineups tool, all of that. If you go to Awesemo, you don't have to be a member to use them at all. They're free. If you go to No House Advantage, use the promo code Awesemo. You get $20 when you sign up and deposit for your first time. And you just win money, Josh. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed just pot of gold, but there are so many ways here free to win money, whereas a lot of people don't have even access to that information.
Yeah, it just, because of us offering full-on free projections for No House Advantage, full-on optimal lineups for No House Advantage, and a promo where you actually do get free money to start, it's very clearly, to me, the best place that you can just start trying to build a bankroll. Or if you just want to try to win more money in what should be a softer site, it's the perfect opportunity to do that right now with all of this stuff that's free. Well, why not give it a shot?
Yep, give it a shot. Sign up, download the app, use the promo code Awesemo. And remember, all of our shows, this is separate, are available in podcast form if you want to listen to them. Awesemo, all of them at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you want, we got you covered. So it's been a fun show. We're coming in just under the hour mark.
Yeah.
Feels
Well, get
good.
ready for tomorrow, buddy, because we're going till noon.
Feels good. Yes, we are. And guys, be sure to hit us up on Twitter. When this bet goes down with Minnesota, I want some energy. I want some excitement. I want to get this going, whether it's in Slack chat, whether it's on Twitter. Bust some balls around here, Josh, and hopefully win some money tonight as well.
Let everybody know tomorrow. Oh, by the way, the line is opened at 9.
Oh, wonderful. So that means Cat's out.
So it's exactly what was going to happen yesterday before they canceled the game.
Oh, shut up, man. That is so ridiculous. We'll see you guys back here soon. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to get your rabies shots, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
To the new Bob Barker. By the way, we really might end up going till noon tomorrow.
I know. I'm really worried about that. What do we got, 12?
Yeah. I mean, there are going to be a couple games that we just write off.